Have you ever gotten jealous of your favorite sports star, musician, or entrepreneur? Because in your eyes, they always seem to smash it. They're winning again and again and again. Somehow they found the secret sauce to fulfilling their potential, and you're left thinking, why am I not like them? What is that secret sauce, and how can you get a squirt of it? Well, I've got a theory. I've studied what makes people great. I've read tons of books and papers on why these elite performers have been able to squeeze every last drop out of their potential. And when you boil everything down, remove all the clever frameworks, models, and blueprints for success, quite simply, potential fulfillment comes down to one simple word: commitment. This one word is what allows you to go from average to good to great, and from great to exceptional. So let's find out more about this magic C word so that you can start fulfilling your potential. The biggest lie in self-help is what I call the myth of motivation. The excuse given by gurus as to why you're failing or not progressing is because apparently you lack motivation. It's also an excuse we give ourselves for not studying as much as we should, or going to the gym as frequently as we should, or working on that important project as hard as we should. We kid ourselves into thinking that we'll feel more motivated tomorrow, but we don't. We feel exactly the same every day. So we assume these freaks of achievement we love are just always super motivated, forever juiced up on some go-getter gel. But they're not. They're just like you and me. Their mind tells them to sack things off and watch Netflix instead. But what keeps them on track and on that pathway to potential fulfillment is an unrelenting commitment. And commitment is quite simply the act of doing what you say you're going to do, even if you don't feel like it. Let me repeat that. Commitment is the act of doing what you say you're going to do, even if you don't feel like it. And that's why motivation is a myth. It's high at the start of something, it's the igniter. It gets things going, but it quickly fades. Whereas commitment is the sustainer. It keeps fanning those flames. And it's what allows the 0.1% of elite performers to keep doing whatever they need to keep doing. It's what makes Elon Musk sleep in Tesla factories. And it's what makes LeBron James go into a minus 130 degrees cryo chamber after practice. These are objectively not fun things to do. No one is motivated to sleep in a factory or put their body into beyond freezing conditions. Commitment is what makes people do these things. But how do you become more committed? Well, there's 3 things that I recommend. One of the main ways we put off the things that we should be doing is by subconsciously making them actually harder to do in the first place. We put up all these different hurdles and barriers that just increase the chance of us not bothering to do what it is that we need to do. But a great way to overcome this is by reducing that friction through something called the 20-second rule. I first heard about this in the Sean Akers book, The Happiness Advantage. And the basic premise is that in order to do more of the thing you know you should be doing, you need to make it 20 seconds less effort to start. A classic example of this is exercising first thing in the morning. People have to somehow roll out of bed, then go to the closet and get their gym kit on, then go to the shoe cupboard and get their trainers out, then go to the kitchen to fill up their water bottle. And each of these hurdles just adds more and more resistance and increases the chances of just not bothering at all and staying in bed. So what do you do instead? Well, fill up that bottle the night before and put it on your bedside table. And as much as it sounds weird, just sleep in your gym kit, because when you wake up, you're ready to then go and work out. There's no friction, there's no excuses. You can just get out the door and crack on with it. And this 20-second rule can actually also be used to eliminate bad behaviors, ones that ruin your commitment. And all you need to do is just actually make those ones 20 seconds more difficult or effortful to start in the first place. So start putting your TV remote in a drawer away in another room, and instead put that book you've been meaning to read on the coffee table in its place. And so the next time you then get that urge to mindlessly put on Netflix, you'll reach over to the table and your book is the only option. And this sounds ridiculously simple, and that's the exact point. It's about making it easier to stay committed and just reducing any friction that prevents us from doing what we need to do. When it comes down to it, it's so easy to let yourself down than it is other people. It's super easy to sack off a 6 a.m. run if you're doing it alone. But if you're meeting your friend in the park at 6:15, you best believe you're going to be there because you don't want to be a friend. And when you think of all these elite performers who fulfill their potential, it's often because they are so committed to other people or missions or movements that are far greater than themselves. LeBron James, for example, made a commitment to the Cleveland Cavaliers fans and the organization itself that he would bring them their first NBA title. And in 2016, he did just that, in somehow guiding his side back from a 3-1 deficit against a far superior Golden State Warriors team. Some think this is the greatest sporting achievement ever, and commitment to others was at the heart of it. LeBron had already fulfilled his personal desire to win the title when he jumped ship to the Miami Heat, but he felt the urge to commit to a far greater challenge for the people who gave him so much in his come up. A big mistake people make in the pursuit of fulfilling their potential is doing it for purely selfish reasons. Now, yes, of course, in some aspects and situations, you have to put yourself first and make those sacrifices. But if you're not doing what you're doing for some higher purpose, for other people, a team or an organization, then it becomes so much easier to just break that commitment and sack it all in when it gets tough. Because there's not that many consequences to letting yourself down, but when you let other people down, you break their trust, you dash their hopes, and that's much more difficult to live with. So for your big goals and dreams, make a commitment to someone else, someone that you really care about, and someone who will hold you to that commitment. Now, as much as we said earlier that commitment is all about doing something that you said you were going to do, even when you don't feel like doing it, that original thing has to be something you actually care about for it to be a proper commitment. Because for so many of us, our goals are actually largely shaped by society, particularly those relating to our wealth and health or physical appearance. Most people don't go through with getting six-pack abs because deep down, they don't care about it that much. They care more about their day-to-day happiness than boring themselves to death by eating chicken, broccoli, and rice every meal, because for them, that goal doesn't actually matter. And so it's far more difficult to actually commit to it. So it's super important when pursuing potential fulfillment that you work towards what I call a loving commitment rather than a loathing commitment. A loving commitment is like having a sibling. They annoy you, frustrate you, but deep down you love them. So it's a goal and its associated behaviors that are hard, difficult, and requires effort to do, but you value the outcome and the journey it's taking you on. Whereas a loathing commitment is like having a toxic boyfriend or girlfriend. They annoy you, frustrate you, and deep down, you f***ing hate them. So it's a goal and its associated behaviors being something that's hard, difficult, and effortful to do, but it brings you zero joy. So you see no point in it whatsoever. And with these loathing commitments, you can still be successful to a certain extent, but they're going to bring you far more pain than enjoyment. A prime example of this is former tennis pro Andre Agassi. His book Open is one of the greatest sports autobiographies ever because of how raw and honest he was about his hatred of tennis. He was pretty much forced into playing by his father and got to a point where it was the only thing he knew how to do, so just kept playing because of the fear of not being able to do anything else. And it led him to taking crystal meth recreationally to get away from all the pain of having to engage in this loathing commitment. Yes, he won titles and millions of dollars, but he said he hated pretty much every moment of it. And so to really fulfill your potential, you have to make these loving commitments that, yes, will be tough to stick to, but it is your love of them that will see you through and make it all worth it. Anyway, that's a wrap on commitment today. Another thing that most elite performers develop to reach the top of their game is mental toughness. So check out this next video here to find out more.